What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Serie Addicts. Marco Romano with Tito Yang here to bring you the recap of Matchday 32 and what a
Yes,
match day
sir.
it was.
Hmm.
Kicking things off with the match of the day, Como and Inter. Was definitely excited for this one. A potential decisive match for Inter's lockdown of the Scudetto this season. And it did not disappoint.
Wow, what a game.
Although I gotta say, I was pretty disappointing in the beginning because that first half from Inter was very lackluster. Only one shot on goal, and it was to end the first half, and it was when Marco Turam fortunately got one back for Inter. But it was actually Como who was imposing their tactics in the first half against Inter, dominating possession, right? Something that they struggled to do before when they played Inter, and Inter had beat them for nothing, where it looked like a Serie A team playing against a Primavera team.
Absolutely.
Completely different team, and it just goes to show how long this team has come under Cesc Fabregas.
Nico Paz was looking like a man possessed in the first half. Like he was all over the place, creating plays, being a constant thorn on the side of the defenders. He had a lot to do with the first goal, which Alex Valle knocked in eventually. And then he scored the second one with just like a really good shot after a nice run and a good pass to space. Um, But obviously, Inter were a little bit shell shocked, but they were not to be outdone, right? Like they got right back into it. That was a real striker's goal by Turam at the end of the first half. Like he just basically, almost hit it with the sole of
Yeah.
his foot into the goal.
It
Like
was a toe poke.
he
A
stomped
toe
it.
poke.
He like stomped it
Yeah.
into the net. That's what a number 9 does because he's holding on to the defender and he was able to get that leg out.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see a striker do. So not like an impressive first half from Turan, but I
No.
think he was like the most dangerous for
But
Inter.
it completely changed the game, right? Because if Como would have gone
Yeah,
to the half 2-0 up, it would have been a completely different story. And the
absolutely.
atmosphere was amazing at the stadium right next to the lake or on the
Yeah,
lake, pretty much. Bunch
yeah,
of celebrities were out. You could feel that it was a big game for both clubs, right? Here's Como, who
yeah.
nobody expected to be in contention for the Champions League next season, going toe to toe with the champion in Inter, right? What it looks like now with this win against Como and getting all 3 points.
And that's
Uh,
the championship mentality that Inter is showing, right? Because you go down 2-0 and you're away. And Inter's like, nah, we're not having this. You know what I mean? Like, and they turn on the gears, right? There was a little bit of a penalty drama for Como at a certain point in the game where it could have been pretty I guess significant based on like how it ended up. But I felt like in the second half Inter were a completely different team. Completely different.
yeah, just a lot of points in this match. Dumfries, right, who on his 200th game for Inter had an awesome match. Almost
Scored
scored a
twice.
couple of times,
Yeah.
couldn't get the goal. Right, scores twice, two nice goals, right, a header, and then a nice strike and finish
Yeah.
on this one. Turam also playing amazing. Listen, maybe we need to put a clause in Turam's contract that says that every 3-4 weeks he takes a trip to France to meet up with some friends, because whatever happened to him during that international break, he's been a completely different player. He's had a
Yeah.
completely different vibe coming back to Inter. Obviously, they had their best game in months, I would say. Last match when they have Lautaro back, Lautaro goes down on this one. I felt that even given how they played last time, I thought that wasn't going to be an issue. So I was definitely a bit surprised when it started 2-0 for Como. And not only
Yeah.
that, but the fact that Inter wasn't even creating any chances at all, right? One shot on goal. Luckily for them, Turan stomps it home, like you said. But not a pretty first half, but you got to give it to him, showing that championship mentality, coming back from 2-0, visiting as well in a rowdy crowd at Como. everything that they've been through, right, with Bastoni and Barella and the team, right, not qualifying for the World Cup, and Bastoni ever since the drama against Juve. He seems to not have a break, so props to him as well for his professionalism, for showing up and playing. But in this one, I also want to give props to Kibu because I felt Dimarco. I don't know if he's exhausted, but he
He
was
looked
very
tired in this
lackluster
match.
in that
Yeah.
first half. Really didn't do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Carlos Augusto's definitely Sopolato Neves was a spark
Yeah, he came
coming
in
off the
and did
bench
some
for
good things.
Inter.
Yep. Yep.
And also props to Acerbi, right? Second time they had to suit up and start in difficult matches against top five clubs after
Yeah.
not playing for quite a bit of time, with
He looked
Pisek
like he was
being out
struggling in the
for
first
Inter.
half a little bit.
Yeah,
Acerbi
he
just keeping
definitely
up.
played better against Roma.
Yeah.
Had especially in the first half, he had a couple of slips that could
Yeah.
have cost us. Especially that second goal with Paz, I think he could have done a little bit better. Right, Sommer should have had it as well. I
Yeah.
think blame on a little bit of blame goes to both on
Yeah.
that goal.
He
Good
did
strike from
touch it.
Nico Paz,
Yeah.
but yeah,
He did touch
somebody
it,
should have
but
had it. But I felt that Chadwick would have done a better job reading Nico Pas's intentions. Right, he was way too far to just like stand there and try to block the shot.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the most important thing is Inter are now 9 points clear of Napoli. They have the Scudetto is definitely back in their hands. It looked a little bit shaky for a second, but I think they're back on track to actually put the cap on this one and take it
Yeah, I
all the way
think
home.
it's pretty much done, bro.
Yeah, this was the
We have
match. This was the
what,
match.
6 matches remaining, none of them against any of the top five teams. This was
This was it.
the hardest match we had left on the calendar. We got to play Como again in the Coppa Italia,
Yep.
which should be interesting because they're still hunting for that Champions League spot
Yeah.
with Juve and a few other teams. But
Yeah.
I think it's done right now. I don't see Inter dropping the ball on this one, especially because players are going to want to get play well and get wrapped up for the World Cup. I think this is not going to be like other years where Kibu may like go crazy and bring in players from the Primavera and stuff like that because players want to be ready for the World Cup.
But I mean, what other year? Kibu hasn't been at Inter any other year, so we'll see. He's gonna close. He's gonna want to close this season out with a title, like his first year at a big club, and he wraps it up with a title. That's amazing for any manager. I think it's a great way for Kibu to boost his managerial career, and I think the most important thing you mentioned going into the World Cup would be managing players to avoid injuries for the rest of the season and the five
True,
games
but
or
some
six
players
games
like
left.
Lautaro, right? If he can, he would want to come in and play a couple of games, and it's still not done, right? It's mathematically still possible for one of the other teams to do anything, but we got to be realistic and
No,
call it what it is.
yeah,
It's a wrap.
it's over.
I wouldn't even say like 95%. It's like, especially with the last 2 matches that the way that Inter have played, and I'm a lot more confident in Kiwu as well now, especially with the decisions he made in this match against Como. I think he part of the reason why they flipped it around is because he made those changes right at halftime. He didn't wait until the 65th, 70th minute to make those
Yeah,
key changes.
and the changes were evident immediately. Although I will say that I think one of the biggest deciders or deciding factors, at least in my perspective, of Inter's second half was that Barella switched it up. Like I think Barella
He's
in the
been playing
second
well.
half, he was like, I'm not having this. We're getting run over in the midfield. I'm gonna start doing things, and you start see him expand his range of operations in the second half very early. And he started
But that's
winning
also
back
with
balls and
Chalanoglu
putting in
being
good
back
passes.
in shape as well, right?
Yeah.
Because
I think Barella
Barella,
was
the
great
last
in the
3 or 4
second half.
matches, he's been back to what I kind of expected from
Yeah.
him this season, which he hasn't been. But I think it's also Chalanoglu not only being back but being in form. I think that lets him be a lot more free in his movement around the pitch
Yeah.
because you got to always pay attention to Chalanoglu. You can't give him a little bit of space because he could be 30, 35 meters away from goal and he's going to make you regret it.
Yeah, 100%. But definitely, I think like Inter's midfield turned it up in the second half, and I think that was the deciding factor in the end because they dominated Como in the second. You know, at least in the first 30 minutes of the second half, I want to say it was just like one way traffic, basically.
And listen, props to Como. I know we said a lot about Inter, where we talked about Nico Paz, but Como still, right, had an amazing season, had a great game, right, completely dominated the first half. Struggled to maintain that in the second half. Just Inter just completely shifted on them. But props to them. They're still in the hunt for a potential Champions League spot. And dude, like the way it's looking right now, I think Milan, Milan need to be careful.
Milan might be the one most at risk, right? Because they play Juve now, the next match, and Juve are in pretty good form, and Milan are flopping miraculously. The only thing that Milan has as an advantage is that Allegri used to manage Juve, so he's got a pretty good grip on the players, right? Who
Mhm.
he's playing against. But on the other hand, I think Spalletti's got Juve playing in a way where in the last match, it was obvious that they were missing McKennie for a lot of the offensive part. So that's why I think Juve had a terrible attacking game. But at least defensively, they're very solid. And if Allegri doesn't sort out his issue up front, because he did what we suggested in the last episode of playing Pulisic and Leao offensively at the same time. But it's just if you do it with a three defender setup, like you're setting yourself up to fail. That's the problem.
Yeah, but we gotta call it what it is. It's just a complete meltdown from Milan, meltdown out San Siro. These
That was
last couple of
crazy.
matches for Milan, with everything that they had in play, right, still were in contention potentially to win the Scudetto. At the very least, looked like one of the runaway favorites for one of the Champions League spots. And now they're in a position, like looking at their last couple of performances, that I don't have any faith at all.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I would definitely lean more towards Como and Juventus given the current form
I
and
mean,
all the drama that's going on internally as well.
but Como have to pick up 5 points on Milan, right? Like I think for Juve, it's a matter of one match and they play against each other in the next match. So like literally, like Juve could leapfrog Milan in the next match day. Um, for Como, Milan will have to lose twice. For them to make that jump. I don't know if Milan are gonna lose twice. I guess I would have to look at their final couple of games to see. Juve have a pretty tough calendar, but I think that Juve do better against better teams. I think Juve struggle when it's an easy match. That's when
Tell me about
they,
it. Tell me about it.
yeah,
You always play like dog shit against other team, and when you play Inter, all of a sudden it's like everybody
yeah.
everybody's as
That's
sharp as they've ever been.
That's the weird thing about this, and then they go lose against Pisa or some shit, That's
Yeah.
what happens with this team. It's just a psychological issue, and you can tell. Oh,
But we've been calling it right, Udinese. Uh, there's one of my teams to watch moving into next season if they can keep the players that they have, and that's a big if,
yeah.
right? Because I know that Inter are gonna go after Sole again, because more than likely both De Vrij and Acerbi are heading out. Same with Darmian, potentially Bastoni, right? So Inter are definitely going to be looking for a defender, and more than anything, like somebody that can play CB or a left back, right? Kind of fill in for Bastoni because Kibu does want to switch to a four-man defensive line at Inter. But the way Udinese are playing, they're such an entertaining team to watch, and I feel has so much potential that it's gonna suck if Soler goes to Inter, or and then you have Davis or Ata, who has been playing awesome as well,
Speaking
right?
of
Who the
Ata,
club?
speaking of Ata, let's talk about that Milan Udinese match. 3-0 for Udinese. Ata has
Yep.
spectacular game. Ata had like a pro, like one of these matches where it's like, hey, if you didn't know who I am, check this out. This is what I can do. Ata is a pretty interesting midfielder, slash
Got some good
winger
prospects.
slash
Dave Davis as
yeah.
well is an awesome prospect,
Yeah,
right?
really
We
good.
talked about him, but also props to Saniolo, right? Mr. Glass
Yeah,
finally
Saniolo had a
is
really good
able
game.
to And hey, he stayed off the injury list. He's been consistent at Udinese. Great run from him on Udinese's first goal. He's been playing awesome. This is a team that the longer that the more time that they've gone together, have been playing better.
Yeah.
Now, but again,
Ekelenkamp is a really good player as well. Like
solid.
he comes
Yeah,
up on the headlines all the time. Consistently good results from him as well. So Udinese have a lot to work with, and I know they started a little bit shaky, but they've had some, like you said, entertaining matches. Like they're a nice, dynamic, offensive, physical team that can
yeah,
attack in different ways, and they're fun to watch because they have skillful, athletic players that play kind of an open style of football. And sometimes it works. When it works, it's beautiful. And when it works, they can be very dangerous. And look at what they did to one of the top teams in the league. And it was just a dismantling of
yeah.
Milan.
Which again, a meltdown for Milan. Leao getting booed, right? Fans
Wow.
not happy at all. And listen,
Wow.
I don't blame them, right? We talked about it a lot. He's an amazing player, but he's Mr. Inconsistency. He's not able to pull a couple of good matches in a row together. I've heard rumblings as well that he may be going to the
Yeah.
Premiership.
Can
So
you say that about Leao, but again, I don't believe any of it because Leao is the type of player who would play in a position kind of like where Vinny Jr. would play, or he would play. Well, he's right footed, right? So yeah, so he would play like where Vinny Jr. would play. He would play where Cristiano Ronaldo would play. He would play where Neymar would have played. That's the type of player he is. He's not a striker that can play in a system where you have three center backs and two terzini. You don't like players like Leao are wasted in that type of system. It's if you got again, if you had Vinny
same as
Jr.,
Pulisic, right? Pulisic
same
is
thing.
is a winger as well.
Same thing. If you have Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo at Milan, they would also play like shit because Allegri would play that three center back
Yeah, the
system,
formation.
which
Yep.
destroys that type of player. That type of player is not compatible with this system. And again, we discussed in the last episode. That's why Italian teams suck in Europe. And that's why we don't develop any good, expensive Italian players because no Italian teams are playing with attacking wingers. That's the problem. We'll never have a Messi. We'll never even have a next Antonio Cassano or a Del Piero. Nobody like that because there's no attacking players on the wings anymore that can, like people like Yildiz. They're not being people like Conceição. They're not being developed in Italy anymore. That doesn't happen,
No,
and it's
it's the formation. It's not that they're being developed. It's
that's
that
what it
they
is.
always have to play a role that is not their role.
Exactly.
That's just it. It's
Yeah.
easy.
They don't have the freedom to attack like Vinny, like Mbappe, like those players. They can attack, they can focus on attacking. But when you're playing with that uber defensive system with five defenders and three midfielders, now you don't have any, like the two up front have to do too much, like way too much, you know? So I mean, I don't understand how a country with such tactical acumen, like Italy has some of the best managers in the world in the history of football, and they can't figure out something that even us in the United States, where we have like the worst football, like we can literally
Yeah.
see that like miles away, like everybody can see it, but you know, they want to win now, and I think that's the problem. They're too scared to lose, and when you're scared to lose, you ultimately end up losing.
Listen, again, meltdown, right? Leao booed, unhappy when he was subbed off.
It's terrible.
Allegri, rumblings that he doesn't know if he's going to stay for another year.
He's gonna get fired.
So Milan, yeah, kind of going up in flames at the moment. Let's see if they're able to get it together and at the very least secure a Champions League spot. But
I
again,
think
the
they
way that
will.
it's looking right now, definitely have Juve ahead of them and for one of those spots. And I
Yeah.
would put right now I have Como ahead of them as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
Como has a pretty tough calendar still remaining for the close of the season, but the way that they're playing, I don't see a lot of teams taking points away from Como right now.
Yeah, I don't either. I think if you it's gonna be on Juve to win all their remaining games. If they want to hold off Como, and honestly, like you said, I think the minute Juve catch up to Milan, it's Milan that I'm worried about staying up because they have looked very inconsistent. And the other thing is
No, you
US
have been
defense.
playing solid.
Yeah, US defense is way better than Milan's, and US offense is the third best offense in the league right now. So behind Inter and Como, it's Juve. So feeling good about the attack. And again, I think US structurally are way more solid than Milan from a defensive perspective.
Mm. Then, speaking about teams that no longer have any aspirations to win the title this season, I think we can call it a wrap for Napoli as
Done.
well. The defending champs conceding after just 33 seconds to
How? How
Strefezza.
how has that happened, man? Like your head's not in the game. I could just imagine Conte's brain just
Oh,
exploding. Like
yeah, exactly. The freaking meme,
the
definitely
emoji
that was
like
Conte.
yeah.
Like I would imagine that he was just pretty much yelling his ass off for the entire match
That's
after
crazy
that
against
happened.
Pisa.
But
Jesus.
again, right? A meltdown in a different way, in a different fashion, not as bad as what's going on with Milan. But again, conceding a goal 33 seconds into the match in an important match like this. With
Yeah.
to be honest, I thought that they, if anybody, would have potentially give Inter a run for the Scudetto, and the fact that they have some of their players that have been injured back on the pitch. But that first goal, terrible lapse defensively. Uh, Great finish from Strefezza because
Yeah.
he bent that ball like Beckham and hit the far post and scored an amazing goal.
That
But
beautiful
again,
shot.
if you're Napoli, you can't let stuff like that happen.
No, bro, Conte must be just like insane. He must have gone insane. And then the fact that they could only score one, because Parma was like, we score and now we're gonna park the bus like it's 1989 Serie A. You know what I mean? Like, ain't
That's
nobody
the
shooting
problem.
here.
But a nice 1-2 play between Hoyland and Scotty McTominay,
Yeah,
the
that
former
guy's a special
MVP,
player.
getting the goal for Napoli to even the match out. Unfortunately for Napoli, that's pretty much how the match remained, and they lost the opportunity to get 2 points out of this one, which would have been even worse if Como would have ended up defeating Inter.
Yeah.
But Napoli again dropped 2 points, 1-1 draw at Parma, again conceding after just 33 seconds to Strefezza. Conte blowing his lid, McTominay equalizer,
Yeah.
but again, not 9 points right away from Inter at this point. So that's a wrap for the Serie A title this season. Now
Pretty
it's the
much.
race for the champions and the battle for the Champions League spot.
And the battle to avoid relegation, which is still very much
True,
heating
true.
up, right? Speaking of the relegation battle, well, before we talk about the relegation battle, let's talk about Roma, which was the other team that was in the
Yeah.
European
Let's talk
atmosphere,
about
right?
the third best scorer in Italy that only joined his club in January,
That's
in
crazy.
Milan.
Daniel Malen scores the first hat trick that has been scored in the Serie A in more than a year, which is
That's crazy.
insane. That's
Who
crazy.
was the last one? Lautaro. Don't tell me. No, probably
I
not Lautaro.
I don't remember. I don't remember who last
Yeah,
time well, someone was.
but the fact that you said it, and
It's
I'm not
been
even
more
gonna
than a year.
contest that. That
Uh,
sounds about right.
No, yeah, they said
Sounds
it in the
about right.
game. I just don't remember who the actual striker of the last hat trick was. But I do remember it was more than a year before Malin's hat trick for Roma against Pisa. He scored in the third, the 43rd, and the 52nd. Malin has been on freaking fire. And is he on loan? He's on loan, right? He's on loan with a right to buy. Is that what he
Mm,
is?
I think that's the deal.
Yeah, I think Roma should think long and hard about spending a lot of
No,
money
no,
to
dude.
keep
Like,
this dude.
if they have an option, which I don't know right now, don't want to say without knowing 100%. But if they have an option, they're gonna absolutely execute on that option and keep Maling. We were saying, right, that hey, they needed a number nine, and Maling is not a number nine, but he's certainly gonna help. At this point, who's Dybala again? Is Dybala even on the
Yeah.
squad? Because since Maling got there, he's been pretty much
Yeah,
their entire
Dybala
offense.
is always like in and out, like in terms of injuries and stuff. But I just checked, and Daniel Malen does have $25 million
Option to buy.
riscatto, a riscatto, which
Okay.
Roma are going to. They already activated that option, so they're going to buy in for 25
No,
million.
no shit.
Yeah, they paid.
25 mil.
Yeah, that's a easy. That's. I mean, he already
Dude,
gave you
he's on
that.
fire.
Yeah,
He's third, the third top scorer in the Serie A, having just joined
he's in
Roma in
double
January.
figures, and he
That's
joined
crazy.
in January. That's insane. Yeah, it's incredible
and
performance.
and and needed. But again, going back to it, type of winger player. Again, he's that type of player.
Yeah, not a number nine, and he's still scoring buckets. Like a number nine, and
But
Gasperini
like you
does
said, it's
play
one,
that
like one of
three.
the players that we're seeing shining in other leagues because they play that type of role in Italy. It's when they get a chance, that they can shine. And Malin has been doing awesome for Roma.
Yeah, but it's
He's just
crazy how often it happens too, right? Because like even at Juve, right now they don't like Vlahovic is out again, and David hasn't really been playing that well. So even Spalletti's playing like without a number nine, and he's playing like Boga at the false nine spot, which is what he did in the last match, and he's done it before with Yildiz as well.
no. Boga
Yeah,
was the player of the month in March for Serie A.
I mean
For a player that doesn't even start,
he's
that
been actually pretty
that's
good.
pretty good.
If we want to talk about Juve, which they played
Which is crazy
Atalanta.
that he's been U.S. best signing this season with all
Yeah,
the money that you guys spent.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like and he's only gonna end up costing about 4.5 million, like after everything's said and done, like
That's a steal.
ridiculous. That's a
That's a
crazy
steal.
steal. And he's been so productive since he joined, like, and important goals, like game-winning goals to actually get us points in the standings. So I'm super happy about that signing. You were played like
Are you guys getting Muharemovic? You think
I,
if he got going back to Juve?
I don't think so. I don't think he is. We have a
I know that's one of the
50%.
options that Inter are evaluating.
We can literally
Um,
get a 50% discount on the
yeah,
player coming
that's what I'm
back.
saying.
But I don't think that's the type of player that we need to invest in right now, honestly. Because I think center back perspective, we have Bremer and Kalulu who should be starters, and then we have Kelly and Gatti. So honestly, we already have four center backs if we're playing with a four-man back line, which is what Spalletti wants to do. I don't think we need Muaremovic. I think Muaremovic is the type of player who will play great at a smaller club, but if we bring him to Juve, he's probably gonna dud. I don't wanna, he's already been at Juve. He played for the next gen for a long time. So we know he's good. We know he's got quality, but there's a reason that we sent him out from the next gen and sold him, right? The same goes for Huisen, right? Who's at Real Madrid, but now they're kind of shopping him around. Sometimes these players get like very hyped up, and then you buy them for 40 million and they play like coal miners. So we have to be careful. All right. I think you were, for example, in the last match against Atalanta, they played like shit. And that's what happens when you don't have McKenny, right? And McKenny is the connector of Juventus's offense. He is the one that takes Locatelli's garbage and turns
He's the
it
one.
into something that we can use. You right? Like because he acts in that line between Locatelli and the offensive players. So if when we don't have McKenny, you have a game like the game you had on Saturday where you scored, but their XG was less than a goal. Like US XG was 0.63. Atalanta shot 22 times, the US shot 7 times. It's ridiculous. Like Juve was parking the bus against Atalanta, which is what were we doing? Di Gregorio had his best game of the year, and somehow he wasn't the MVP of this match. I don't understand. Lloyd Kelly and Bremer were a wall in the back, but honestly, our midfield was just ridiculous in this match. Like Ederson was doing whatever the hell he wanted.
So one of the biggest takeaways for me was the Catalare, right? Especially seeing how Inter has struggled with Dumfries being out for the majority of the season on that right side, and how
Yeah,
amazing he is offensively, right
that guy
on
was everywhere.
the right side. But Luis Enrique, right, has been a bit slow in his development at Inter, right? Wasn't quite ready to fill in for Dumfries, which is a big ask because Dumfries has been playing awesome the last couple of seasons. But the Catelare, I felt one of the better players on the pitch in this match between Juve and Atalanta, hands down.
Yeah, and Atalanta have a couple of players that are a problem, and Paladino knows how to use them effectively and how to create problems. And honestly, I felt like it was a miracle that Juve were able to come away with a 1-0 win. I guess the important part about this game is that Juve were able to get the 3 points. I think it was a miraculous performance by Di Gregorio who kept the clean sheet.
Wow, praise for Di Gregorio. This is a new day at Juventus.
Yeah, I mean, Perin's injured, so he had the Gregorio had to step up, and he actually had a couple of game saving
A couple of gay.
game.
Pause.
I said game, but he had a couple of game saving stops is what he did. He's very I mean, he was very good in this game. I still don't think that he's the type
He's
of
a good
goalkeeper.
keeper. He's a good keeper, just
I don't
not
think
a
he's Juve
Juventus
level.
caliber
Yeah.
keeper.
Yeah, yeah. We're used to having, other
Buffon.
type of
Buffon, let's be honest. You were used to having Buffon for like 15
Peru,
years.
Peruzzi, Buffon, even Chesney was pretty solid when it came to like stopping the ball. Um, but
But
again,
I would say similar to Napoli and Milan, kind of this being the match day where their hopes for the title are gone. I think same for Atalanta for to get to the Champions League on this one, not
yeah,
failing to get any points against Juve, which was expected, right? Juve definitely the more informed team. They have been playing better than Atalanta, even though Atalanta have been playing good. But that puts leaves them at seven, right? At seventh place. 4 points from Roma. I feel Roma are also still in contention for
yeah.
for the Champions League spots. But I feel that unfortunately that's where it ends. And Atalanta, the best they can hope for, I feel, is getting to a European spot, but not in the Champions League for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now, Juve have it in their hands, but obviously, U.S. hands are as about as solid. They're not really solid. Let's just say that, right? Like I was looking for a
They're covered in
metaphor,
butter.
but
They're
they
covered in
got
butter.
butterfingers.
They
If
got
the results
butterfingers.
are in their hands, they got butterfingers. They're an Italian
Thought that was the
team.
word. I was
Yeah. But
letting you get there. But they've been playing great as of late, right? You have last five matches, 4 wins, 1 draw,
yeah, but one
right?
positive note that I also wanted to call out is Emil Holm, who actually joined from Genoa on loan, had
No, that's
a
just crazy. That's a name that we haven't mentioned in a while.
had a
So
really good game, home. Very dangerous down the right side. He put in the cross that resulted in the goal. But he was very dangerous down that right wing. He looked like a little bit like the old Lichtsteiner from back in the days. Obviously not as physical,
he's
but
a really solid player.
I
I kind of
I like home.
forgot about him. Like I
Yeah,
think Boga
very
kind of has
promising.
stolen the thunder for sure as far
Well,
as
the thing about home, the
their
reason you
signings.
forgot about him is because he joined, he played 2 matches, and then he was injured for 6 weeks and he just came back. So that's why probably he fell off the radar a little bit. But I feel Spalletti actually likes him as a player and likes what he can contribute, especially because it allows him to play a 4-man backline. Why? Because Home is the type of right back who can play fullback. See, there's right backs who can only play wing backs because they're not really defensive, like a Dani Alves, somebody like that, right?
Yeah, and you
But
don't have that. You have a lot of attacking talent on that side, but
yeah,
he's replacing João Mario.
He's replacing João Mario, but the difference between Holm and João Mario is Holm can drop back and play a fullback because a fullback
He
has
can
to be
cover
able
for
to play.
Kalulu, and Kalulu can
Yeah,
get forward as
yeah,
well. It
the
works out.
fullback has to be able to play center back if he needs to. And people like Dani Alves and Joao Mario cannot do that. That's the difference between a Lichtsteiner and a Holm and somebody like a Dani Alves or a Joao Mario or a Joao Cancelo, for example. That's another example. Joao Cancelo is not the type of player that you could play as a fullback. You need to play him a little bit forward, like an attacking wingback, because it's just the way they're built. Some players like Dumfries could play a fullback. He's a big guy. He's good with his head. You know what I mean?
He
Like
has
that.
some pretty big saves
Yeah,
against Como as well. He played
that
really solid
he was
defensively as well.
great. He was great. But see, Dumfries could play a fullback. That he has the skill set, but other João Mario cannot do it. And I think that's why Spalletti sent João Mario away and brought home in because he's like, no, I need a guy that could play in a four-man back line, and João Mario is not it. And that's the also the reason why Kostic is not playing almost anything because Kostic is really good at being an attacking wingback, but he definitely cannot play left fullback. That's the problem.
Which is
So
another issue because Cambiaso also it's more better offensively than defensively
exactly.
on that side as well.
Yeah, yeah. So even his game time is a bit compromised. But Cambiaso can play a sort of a fullback because at least he's tall, but he's not really good defending in the air or defending in particular. He's not really a great defender. He's pretty good offensively, but defensively, I would say he's mediocre. So if you compare him to a player like Di Marco, I would say Di Marco is way better than Cambiaso both offensively and defensively. I think Cambiaso is just better
I would
gifted
say
physically. You know,
offensively for sure, defensively.
defensively, Di Marco doesn't do that much, but I think that Cambiaso doesn't either, and that's why I kind of rate them similarly. Cambiaso defensively really he makes a lot of stupid mistakes, causes a lot of penalties. He's not that smart. He does have a lot of ability, like physical ability, and he's good with both feet when it comes to passing and kicking. That's why he could play both sides. But honestly, he can't man mark, like he can't tackle, like he's just there. Like he can get in the position. That's all he can do basically. But he's not a great defender, you know. He's not gonna be stealing the ball away from
Yeah.
people like
But
that.
I think that that's one of the reasons why Kiwu as well wants to switch to that four-man back line, right? Because he wants to get
Yeah.
somebody that's focused more on defensive, so Di Marco has a little bit more freedom to attack.
Yeah.
If he's just shown anything this season, is not only he's probably the best at crossing the ball in Serie A, but he's also great at finishing. He's gotten a lot of goals as well. But defensively, right, I think they struggle a little bit from kind of some of the same symptoms where they need
Yeah.
there there is no we don't have a Dumfries on the left side, right? Luis Enrique, that was the biggest issue. Not only that wasn't producing a lot offensively, but
Yeah.
it was night and day versus Dumfries defensively,
Yeah.
right?
You
And then
could
you
play
have
Bastoni
Darmian.
on the left, but it's not gonna be the same.
No, but I think I think Bastoni. Who knows? With everything, at least he's the one that has the most buzz around him
Might be
to be the
sold, right?
sacrificial lamb.
Might be sold.
Um, in the next transfer window, especially with Barcelona. I don't know if you saw the game today, but it's like they need some better defenders.
Yeah.
They could really use him. It's gonna suck for us, but I think it's easier to replace somebody like Bastoni than it is to replace somebody like Di Marco. Obviously, Lautaro, Pillar, like the difference that just him coming back makes for the entire team. It's crazy. Um, but I think that's going to be unfortunately the sacrificial lamb, and I think that's why I was asking about Muharemovic because I know he plays on that left side. He's more defensive, right? He's not just a CB. He likes playing on the left as well.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's the type of player that Inter are going to be gunning for. Obviously, Sole, they're going to go after Sole again at Udinese. Muharemovic has come up, but it's every time Juve is in the mix, I would lean towards he's not going to Inter, but who knows? Let's see.
I don't think you are gonna bring him in anyway. There's a
Mm.
couple other matches that I don't think we mentioned yet. Fiorentina was playing for their lives on Monday. to
Now
try to get
Fiorentina
out
have
of
been
the
playing for their lives the
yeah.
entire season, it seems.
But now they were able to sneak a win against Lazio, which is very positive for them because that's not an easy team to win against.
And 8 points away from the relegation zone, right? So
That's
a little bit
crucial.
more comfortable, still not
Yeah,
completely out of the woods.
yeah,
But again, we know that two of those spots are already locked up, one of them being Verona that lost
yep,
against Torino. Torino, another team that's a little bit just similar, a little bit further up than Fiorentina. I think they're just riding the mid table. They just really playing for pride right now. But Verona done, Pisa done, right? All that's it's one spot left. Lecce and Cremonese right now tied points. Differential goes to Cremonese,
yep.
but Cagliari still in danger. But I think it's gonna come down,
That was
unfortunately,
a
to
big
Cremonese
win.
or Lecce.
That was a big win for Cagliari this weekend because they were able
They've
to.
been playing well, and the other Esposito
Yeah,
playing well as
they got
well, right?
5 points on Cremonese now. That was a big match because if they lost, Cremonese would have overtaken them and they would have been stuck at 30 points. Right. They would have actually been tied with Cremonese at 30 points. But it's only 3 points ahead of Lecce. So like you're just one match away. Lecce can get a miracle, you're still at risk, which is the
Yeah.
situation for Cremonese right now. Cremonese and Lecce are tied when it comes to points. So Cremonese cannot afford to slip up again. And Lecce will be looking for any chance to get some points on the board to try to get out of that 18th spot. Like you said, Verona and Pisa are going down. There's no way around that. But
No.
for Cremonese and Lecce, it's still gonna be a fight. Right now, Cagliari with this win puts themselves 6 points above the 17th spot. So I think Cagliari, this was a season defining win for them because it was basically you're going up against a team that's up for relegation and you are 3 points ahead of them. And this will get you six, which is basically saving yourself when it comes to Cagliari. So huge win for Cagliari in that match. Cremonese now have it all to do because they're tied in the relegation zone with Lecce.
And I don't know what your thoughts are, but for me as well, right? Cremonese have brought in some like kind of a little bit over the hill veterans to kind of help out this season.
Yep.
I don't know if they're gonna show the same fight as some of the younger players that Lecce have, right? To fight and avoid relegation. Because if I'm Bardi, yeah, well, freaking Cremonese gets relegated, I'll go back to England and play like in the Championship or in one of the teams
Yeah.
that are going into the Premiership next season. There's always options, right? So I don't know. That's kind of dangerous for me as well when I think of right who will make it, who will be end up getting relegated between Lecce and Cremonese, which are the most likely as of now. Obviously, things can change,
Yeah.
but I would lean towards Cremonese. Unfortunately, after the great start that they had this season, I would lean towards them getting relegated. Unfortunately.
I don't know, man. I think Lecce is still gonna be it. Cremonese, I feel have a little bit more motivation from the fact that they own their own stadium. So if they stay in Serie A, they could make a lot of money and kind of keep climbing up the ranks and getting to like a better financial position. Going down to Serie B would be disastrous for Cremonese just because of the investments that they had made as an organization. So looking at that, I think they have a lot more to play for than Lecce, honestly. Lecce are a Serie B team that's hanging out in Serie A for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, I think Cremonese, from an organizational structure perspective, are better suited to actually stay up and be able to make even more investments in terms of players. You said it. They brought in a couple of veterans, right? Like you're already bringing names, so you have some sort of attractive quality to your club and then if you're able to stay up and then you own your own stadium, that puts you in a advantageous financial position when it comes to the other
Hey,
clubs in
look
terms of the
at
market.
Como, bro. Like that game match against Inter, and you looked at the crowd, all the
Yeah,
superstars, all the money flowing
it's a lot of
around
money.
for a small stadium like that.
Yeah, it made
right?
the tickets very expensive.
Something to think about for some of the other smaller clubs.
Absolutely.
But another Serie B team that just came up that have solidified their spot is Sassuolo,
Oh yeah.
who played against Genoa, who have been playing awesome against De Rossi. Even though Sassuolo lost on this one against Genoa, 2-1. They've been playing awesome, solidified this spot again.
Yeah.
Genoa was actually fighting to avoid relegation still, right? They've been playing awesome, but and have had great battles against some of the top clubs this season, but
Yeah.
have still dropped some points. But I think they're again a different animal under De Rossi. They got
Completely.
Malinowski back. Thankfully, I don't think Malinowski played when they played against Juve. I think they missed a penalty, and it wasn't Malinowski who took the penalty, right?
No, he wasn't. He
Against Juve,
wasn't on the field against
Di
Juve.
Gregorio saved it, right?
Yeah.
But they get three more points again, playing awesome against De Rossi. Avoid relegation. Glad to see Genoa, right? I want to see them continue under De Rossi. Grosso has done an amazing job at Sassuolo. You called it, right? We have great Italian managers, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, these Italian managers, they can instill some of that playing style, right? Change things up for some of these smaller teams and can continue
They
to
should
improve
learn from
moving into next
Fabregas.
season.
Fabregas should have a seminar in Italy for everybody else, so they learn how to play with a four-man backline. And
It's
then
gonna
we're
be
gonna see
interesting to
some
see how
changes.
loyal Fabregas remains to Como, because
I
a
heard he's
lot of
already
folks
got offers.
are taking notice. Yeah, a
I've
lot of
already,
folks are
yeah,
taking
I've heard
notice.
he's got offers from bigger clubs already. I think Barcelona will probably be one of those clubs that are might be considering bringing him in. Who you never know.
I don't know. If I with him, I wouldn't go to Barcelona. I would try to ride out. Let's see
It's a lot of
if Como
money
make it
though.
to the Champions League. They got pulled. Like, dude, literally, they're
Yeah, but
right on the lake.
Barcelona is
They
Barcelona.
got money. True,
Barcelona.
but I'm saying, hey, it's working. Why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep going after young, talented players,
No, they throw a bunch of
right?
money
Just
at you.
build up,
Like
get more.
your salary is like $1.2 million a Como, and then Barcelona are like, okay, we'll pay you 5 million.
Yeah. But listen, you're gonna get to a point where until you're consistently at the top, you're gonna have to unfortunately sell those and let those type of players go back to their teams, or sell them to make money and get
That's what
better
happens at Como. That's why
good
he
pieces
would
in
move to
return.
Barcelona because Barcelona are not gonna
Yeah,
sell
but
half
I
of
don't
his team
know, like,
during the summer.
but I don't think I don't know. I hope that he doesn't. I hope that he writes it out. I would hate to see him go down like Xavi Alonso after the amazing season he had at Leverkusen, going to Madrid and then getting sacked just because you have a bunch of talented players that with clashing egos that can't figure out how to make it work on the pitch.
Yeah, but that's what the Madrid manager has to do, right? Like Zinedine Zidane had
Yeah,
a bunch of
but he's not
egos, and
gonna
he was
have the
able to make
same
it
amount
happen.
of control that he has in Como, because at Como
No,
everything revolves around him and Nico Paz. and Nico Paz. But
yeah, I
at
think.
Barcelona, it's like you're not the star here, bro.
No, yeah, president is gonna be getting into your business all the time. That's what happens in Barcelona. The president, the press, like interest groups, like political parties. It's a completely different animal.
That's all. I hope that they could keep it together. Let's see if what ends up happening in the last couple of matches here, right? Especially which teams secure those Champions League spots. Again, right now, Milan at third, 3 points ahead of Juve. What's the next matchup?
Juventus will play Bologna next, and then they play Milan on the
Ooh.
26th. So that's gonna be a big
So
one.
good. That's a good warm up as well for you, right? Playing against a good
Yeah,
team in Bologna. Granted, haven't had a consistent season,
yeah.
um, but it should be an interesting one, at least a warm up match. And Milan got to figure something out, because they've been a shell of what they show that they could potentially be this season with like Rabiot, with Modric, and some of the other players that have shined, like Bartesaghi, which unfortunately got an own goal
Yeah, in the last match.
in the last match against Udinese. But they're the ones that I feel are struggling right now. Roma playing well. If Milan can keep it going, even though Roma have dropped 3 of their last 5, right? Had a good performance. Obviously, 3 goals from Milan. He's I don't doubt that he's going to be able to keep that form up, but who knows? He may prove me wrong and end up being the capocannoniere at this point.
That's crazy.
Especially if Lautaro's out. Um,
Yeah.
Como, let's see what happens. But Juve, I think you were kind of in the driver's seat. I doubt Napoli are gonna drop a lot of points either. So if I had a bet on it and put money on it right now, I would say Napoli, Juve, and either Como or Roma qualify for the Champions
Well,
League.
Roma have a tough match against Atalanta in the next match day. Como are going to be playing Sassuolo away. So I think they have a little bit easier, even though Sassuolo can be a very tricky team, especially when they don't have anything to play for, nothing to lose, right? Um, so it's going to be very interesting next match day. I don't think a lot is going to change, but there's also a relegation zone battle between Fiorentina and Lecce, which Fiorentina we kind of already said are a little bit out of the
Yeah,
relegation zone. But,
Cremonese and Cagliari, Fiorentina, I think they're good. Eight points,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
away
But still,
from the relegation.
Lecce
So
is in the relegation zone, and Lecce, if they win, if they beat Fiorentina, they could overtake Cremonese, who are tied with them. And Cremonese played Torino, which is not an easy team. So again,
I think the way it stands right now, it looks like it's going to be a battle between those two teams to see who avoids relegation.
yeah,
I still have a shot of my prediction for the beginning of the season. Juve got to keep playing the way they've been playing. If Napoli drop a couple of matches, I may get it Como the way they've been doing. Right, I had him fifth starting the season. You told me I was kind of crazy. That was way too high, but
yeah,
that's where they are right now,
that's
and
crazy.
potentially can end up being even higher.
Can't believe
But it
it.
would be crazy if it ends up being Inter, Juve, Napoli, Milan, and
Uncle,
Como.
yeah, that'd be interesting for sure. Well, I think
Well,
that's
that's
everything,
all
right?
the matches. I think we covered everything, right? Serie A title, another one for Inter, not official, but almost official. And
Yeah, pretty much.
take that shit, Milanisti, two more than you guys. Suck it. Right, still a long way to go to catch Juventus, so I'm not gonna boast about it too much, given the other person in the pod. But we appreciate you guys joining us. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back after next match day, and we'll keep it going until the rest of till the end of the season, and then hopefully give you guys some other content during the World Cup. Peace out.
Yes, take it easy.